let's react or let's watch. I simulated 1 million Pokemon battles. Here's the best trainer by SmithPlays Pokémon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like if you go check them out, which you guys should all go check them out. But let's see how this video, let's see what they did in this video, because I'm pretty sure he used AI learning to like simulate all of the battles pretty instantly. So this should be really cool.
This is Falkner. It turns out he is the worst gym leader in the entire history of the Pokemon series. That may sound like a bold, unsupported statement, but today I'm going to show you how me and my team used AI to rank every single trainer in Pokemon. Right now you're seeing a program simulate over 1 million Pokemon battles. From Red versus Cynthia to Brock versus Leon.
This kind of reminds me, wait, did you guys ever watch, this is kind of reminding me of the, did you guys ever watch, Ultimate, oh, what was it? It was yeah, this show, Deadliest Warrior. Did you guys ever watch this? It was such a crazy show, but like the whole idea was that they would use like computer simulations to simulate who would win in fights of like old warrior clans and stuff. It's not comp battles, no. He's having the AI fight against others. But wait, this show though, yeah, like this show was just, and there was a video game, I guess, too. It's on Apple TV, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. This is such a weird show. Go watch it. It's literally like what he's doing. It's really fun. It was a crazy show.
Possible
I don't know why I just remembered
is
that.
Being played out 100 times. The program pits two heuristic-based AI bots against each other, which basically means they're coded to follow a set of predefined rules. It uses a formula to estimate its matchup against an opponent and decide whether to switch out or use the best move against the opposing Pokemon. Each battle has been documented, and
all right, so off the bat, this man is already leagues smarter than me, but I do have a few questions. If he wrote the code for the bots to have the rules, how is he avoiding bias? I don't know.
We're now going to analyze the results
what are the rules?
To scientifically determine the best and worst trainers. I'm also giving away a copy of Scarlet and Violet to one of you. All you have to do is subscribe, watch to the end, and comment what the most
if you don't have Scarlet and Violet, yeah, this video is pretty recent. Go watch it and subscribe.
As you might expect, are all first gym leaders
anyway.
in their respective game. The 9th worst trainer is Rock Trainer Brock of Red and Blue. Of 15,000 fights, Brock was able to win just 1,000, with his most impressive performance being a flawless 100-0 win rate against both Lieutenant Surge and Lisa of Black and White. Considering power scaling and that he's the first gym leader ever, Brock has held up pretty well. Now, Roxanne from Pokemon Emerald performed only slightly worse, with 948 wins, coming in at the 8th lowest. The 7th worst trainer was Cress, the Gym 1 water variant of Black and White, followed by
I thought Brock was the worst. Oh no, that happened. That happened to so many people. You should be able to. I'm pretty sure they were saying you can request a refund from Nintendo, and like they'll do an equivalent exchange for the DLC since it's like so poorly marked.
The grass-based variant. At the 5th lowest spot, we had Bug User Katie of Scarlet and Violet, followed by Black and White's weakest Gym 1 variant, Chili. In Black and White 2, Sharon replaces those 3 leaders, and he is our 3rd weakest leader. And lastly, Bug User Viola of Pokemon X and Y is the 2nd weakest at spot number 149. Now, to give you an idea of just how bad Falkner is at his bottom placement of 150, consider that the 2nd worst trainer, Viola, still had 214 wins. Falkner, in dead last, was only able to secure 5 in the entire tournament, all coming from Viola. Falkner's team of a level 7 and 9 were just so comparatively weak that he couldn't get a single win over.
Wait, he didn't scale the. Okay, wait. Now I'm a little confused. He didn't scale the levels, so like, how is that fair? Because if you put Falkner's team of 2 at level 9 against Giovanni's team of 5 at level 48, I think it is. How is that an equivalent comparison? Like even here, Surskit is outranking Pidgeotto by 1 level.
For most gyms, he had a
I feel
type
like the
advantage
levels
over.
should have been
Faulkner,
like it should have been like
Viola,
VGC and
Sharon,
all the levels should
Chili,
have been set to
Katie,
50.
Sillin, Cress, Roxanne, and Brock make up,
but like retained the same moves and stuff. Because I feel like I don't know. That's weird that he wouldn't like standardize the levels.
our first and lowest tier of trainers. Trainers are being grouped based on their performance to help keep things organized. Each tier roughly corresponds to the average gym of its respective level. As we move on to our second tier, this means characters ranking here perform close to the average Gym 2 leader. Now, at the bottom of this group, at 141, is Pokemon Crystal's Bugsy, the worst performing Gym 2 leader. So far, Generation 2 is off to a very bad start. Now, Generation 7 had grand trials instead of gym leaders, and Hala's team looks like a normal games Gym 2. We see this check out as he places next at spot 140.
I can't get over the
Then at 139, we have Rourke of Pokemon Platinum's
I can't
first
believe
gym.
there's actually
Despite only
this many
being level
gym
14,
leaders.
Rourke was able to win more than 2 second gym leaders.
How does that work? How are there 150 gym leaders? I mean, even if you're including the Elite Four, that's 8 times 9. Oh, that's 72. 32. Oh, okay. Yeah,
For
no, I
Rourke
guess-
to place
no,
in tier
there's
2,
not all-
this
there's
just
not
means
8 in
that
every
despite
gen.
being the first leader in his game, he's
Huh.
actually more on par with the average second.
See, and this is what I'm saying again. Wait, I don't know. Am I cutting it off? I don't think I am. But Craniados is level 14 and Zebstrika is level 27. How is that fair?
Gym leader. Next up, we have Brassius of Gen 9, followed by Brawley of Emerald, and then Roxy of Black and White 2. Next, placement 135 is our first huge upset, being taken by Pokemon Crystal's 4th gym leader, Morty. Considering he has a level 25 Gengar, Morty is only ranking higher than someone with a level 18
Just watch the video
Ace.
and see.
Now, if we look into the data, we can actually start to see Morty's problem. If you look at the fights, he simply had an inability to damage normal
that's
types.
weird.
Look at someone like Charent from Black and White 2. Despite being 10 levels lower, both of his Pokemon could set up using Work Up, then use Bite, while Morty really couldn't do much to retaliate. The next up is Milo of Sword and Shield, who placed as the highest ranking first gym leader. Now, Milo wasn't particularly
Milo.
exceptional. His level just happens to cap much higher than the other first gym leaders at level 20. Lenora will then take spot 133, and at 132,
confused.
Misty of Red and Blue will be our last tier 2 leader. Impressively, Misty is the 3rd highest ranking Gym 2 leader, which again shows less power creep through the series than one might expect. But as we move to tier 3, I might want to take that back, as our very next
Okay, wait. Did I miss? No, I didn't miss it because he's been using different gens. But he's doing it based off of first
leader
gen,
after
or-
Misty is actually Lieutenant Surge. As the first member of Tier 3, Surge did well for the most part. His problem was being set back by the many early game rock leaders who he couldn't damage. Brock, Roxanne, and Rourke all have dual ground types, and he lost every single fight to all 3 of them. So despite doing good everywhere else, these 300 losses really hurt his placement. Interestingly though, Electric leader Watson of Pokemon Emerald comes next, with only a slightly better performance. At 129, we have
Didn't
Platinum's
Watson have
second
Sonic
leader
Boom
Gardenia,
to,
who performed very well with a
counter
40-volt
things that
Roserade.
were
After her
immune?
is Grant of X and Y, followed by the notorious Whitney of Gen 2. Now, considering at this point that nearly all trainers around Whitney have 3 Pokemon level 23 to 25, her team of 2, led by a level 20...
Do we think, is he going to compare the other gens? Because, like, the Gen 4 remake Whitney team is, I would say, also pretty hard.
Miltank shows a really stellar performance. I also have to point out the fact that she placed higher than her 5-level senior Morty. Next is Berg of Black and White, followed by Nessa of Sword and Shield, and then Elisa, who is Black and White's following gym leader. Seeing as she barely came out over Berg, we can really start to see that its consistency...
Wait, so an electric gym for the 3rd, you have Surge, Watson. Who else do you have that's an electric gym leader for 3? Iona. Well, that one's a little weirder. That one's weird because I didn't fight Iona 3rd. I fought her like 5th or 6th. It all depends. Like the opening is kind of how it all depends on where you go chronologically in levels, I guess. Huh.
Which
So I was like,
makes for
some
a
of the
good
other
placement.
electric
So
gym leaders
far,
are later.
all the electric
Like,
leaders
like
are
7
underperforming
or 8.
simply because they don't have the coverage to deal with ground
Yeah.
types. Now, Kabu of Sword and Shield ranks 123, barely besting Nessa, and then Olivia of Sun and Moon, that's the second Grand Trial, which roughly correlates to about a 4th gym, will finish out Tier 3. Now, moving on to Tier 4, this is where you're going to start to see things get really skewed. Tier 4 is meant to represent the average 4th gym leader, but it has leaders from the 3rd, 5th, 6th, and even 7th gym of its respective game in it. Starting this tier at placement 121, we have Scarlet and Violet's 4th gym leader, Kofu. What's so fascinating about this placement is right after him at 120 is Iono, Scarlet and Violet's 3rd gym leader, who caps a whole 6 levels lower.
Interesting.
Now,
He just
after
referred
previous
to Iono
performances,
as the
I was
3rd
really
gym
surprised
leader.
to see an electric leader do so well here. Once you look at her team, though, it becomes really obvious why. Iona has a Watro with a flying move, a Belly Bolt with Water Gun, a Luxio with Bite, and that absolutely deadly Miss Magius. This is the 4th mid-20 electric gym leader we've looked at. Iono is the outlier, and she was able to perform so well because of great coverage and team diversity. Another interesting oddity of Tier 4
Iono
is
was
the
made
very
like that
next
because
trainer
of the
is
possibility that
Fantina
you're going to
of
fight her
Platinum.
not
She ranks the
3rd.
exact same and has a very similarly leveled Miss Magius. Now, next up is Fire user Flannery of Pokemon Emerald, and then at 117, we have what is technically the biggest upset of the tournament. So Price is technically the 7th gym leader of Pokemon Crystal, but because the game is non-linear, he actually scales to equal a Gym 5 Johto leader. So it is still a bad performance, but maybe not as bad as on first glance. Erica of Kanto is next at 116, and just besting his Gym 5 equal is Gen 2's fighting leader, Chuck. Next at 114, we have Norman of Pokemon Emerald.
Damn, Norman didn't even crack
surprisingly
top
ranked
100.
Whoa, Norman has great power, and I would have thought his slacking would have had him batting pretty high above his weight class. Turns out its truant ability was able to hold it back, and that, combined with a horrible ghost matchup, places him here. Continuing the oddities of Tier 4, next up is X and Y's 4th leader, Ramos. Why this placement is weird is it's followed by X and Y's 3rd leader, Corona. Corona's whole team has access to Power-Up Punch, and this allowed her a huge advantage in most fights.
Well,
Next
not
up is
confused.
Ground
I just,
user
like,
Clay
I thought
of Black
that-
and White. I always found his Excadrill to be quite
I have
scary, but he's
questions
really only
about
ranking
the
slightly above average. More
methodology
interestingly, though,
still.
is right after him is Black and White's 6th leader, Skyla. So it's hard to say whether Clay did good or the other Black and White leaders are just underperforming. One region that's performing well above average is Sinnoh. As topping
That's
out
what
Tier
I'm saying.
4 is
He's not like that's what I'm saying. He's like doing it like I think he's only using the team that they first appeared with, because didn't Norman have like a really broken team in Black and White 2? In the battle series thing, didn't Norman like roll up with like a busted team if you didn't have the right stuff?
going to be Maylene of
Not
Pokemon
busted,
Platinum.
because, like,
Heading into Tier
truant,
5 is
but
Koga,
still.
who despite having a level 43 ace is ranking only just above trainers that are 10 levels lower. And take note that because he's an Elite 4 member in Pokemon Crystal, he'll appear
He's mentioned by what?
again with that team.
Oh,
107
maybe he
is
will.
Jasmine
I
of
don't
Johto,
know.
followed by Winona from Hoenn. And if we
'Cause
don't
there
count
haven't
Bryce
been
from
any
Crystal,
repeat-
Bryson would then
there
get the
haven't been
title
any
of lowest
repeat
ranking
gym
Gym
leaders
7
yet.
leader. From here, we have Gym 5 Larry of Scarlet and Violet, followed by Clement of X and Y. And
All right, the
finally,
fact that
finishing
Larry
off
is
the
not
last
top
gym leader in
100,
Pokemon Crystal is
I-
Claire. With a decent team
no,
of
Larry
3
is-
Dragonaires
Larry
and a
is the
level 40
best.
Kingdra, I was actually expecting a better performance. But if there's one thing I've learned from this project so far, it's that Johto sucks, and I was justified in trying to fix it with my ROM hack. Now next, topping Claire is Sword's
What are you talking about,
4th
Nova?
gym
When
leader
Sharon took
B,
over the first
followed by
gym in
Platinum's
Black and White?
5th gym, Crasher Wake. And surprisingly, Claire is not the only underperforming Dragon leader, as next is Iris from Pokemon White. Pokemon Black
So wait, are we Okay,
has
so
almost
is
the
Iris also
exact
going to get a
same team for this
champion
fight, but
team?
Drayden actually has a different ability, and it turns out this made a difference. Because after Iris is Alistair of Pokemon Shield, and then Drayden, who had 138 more wins than Iris. Moving into Tier 6, we start with Wallace's gym leader team from Ruby and Sapphire. We always use the Emerald
I forgot
third
about that.
version
I forgot that
team,
Black
as
and
it's
White
the
2
most
have you like
complete,
start
but
on the other
Wallace
side
is
of
a
the
niche
map.
case with a different role between the versions. Nanu
No,
from
'cause
Sun
one
and
of the
Moon
tiers
plays
is
next,
Elite
followed
Four
by
and
Valerie
Champion.
of X and Y, and then Sabrina. Notably, Valerie and Sabrina were near perfect matchups, with Sabrina winning
So
the
I'm pretty sure
100
he's gonna
fights
include
only
champs
51 to
and Elite Four.
49. Opal from Sword and Shield is next, followed by Blaine from Red and Blue, and then Byron from Platinum. From here, it's Giovanni, who had a very interesting upset. We previously saw Ghost Leader Morty being a big underperformer. He had one big redemption, however, which came from pummeling Giovanni 100 to nothing. Despite the Rocket Gym Leader having a whole 25 levels over him, his only 2 damaging moves were Poison Sting and Dugtrio's Dig. Morty won using a combination of Curse, Hypnosis,
That's
and
really
Nightshade,
embarrassing
while
for
could
Giovanni.
be back. From here, Tier 6 is next going to see Crystal's Elite Four members Will and Koga, who are the 2 lowest ranking Elite Four members in the tournament. We'll then finish up this tier with Gordy, the 6th gym leader in Pokemon Sword. Now, Tier 7 begins with Tate and Liza of Emerald, who did better than Wallace's Gym 8 Ruby Saf team. Despite being crafted for double battles, their individual members were strong enough to keep them
if we got a
effective in
Crystal
single
remake
battle
on, like,
tournament.
oh.
Next is Scarlet Violet's
If we got,
Rhyme,
like,
followed by Crystal's
I really
Bruno,
hope we get
then
Crystal
Melody,
games, like
Olympia,
old,
Candace, and
Nintendo
Agatha
Switch
at
Online
spot
Game Boy
79.
games.
Agatha gets to take the title of lowest ranking
I've
Elite
never
Four
played
member
Crystal
who is
Clear,
not from
so-
Johto. And the reason behind that is Agatha's only good Pokemon are Gengar, and there were no strong ghost moves in Gen 1, so she didn't really have any sources of power. Now, right after her is Sydney from Emerald to take the spot of second worst non-Johto E4. We'll then finish out Tier 7 with Volkner of Platinum, followed by Piers from Sword and Shield.
Volkner,
And take
that's
note,
the
we
other
still
electric
have the
gym leader I
tiers
couldn't
for
think of.
Elite
But he's
Four,
like the last
Champion,
one.
and final post-game bosses to cover, along with ranking the regions. The last tier is going to rank trainers like Red from Crystal, Steven and Emerald, and Cynthia's rematch team, so make sure you don't miss that. Starting out
Wait, did he just say that the top tier he's going to be comparing like Mount Silver Red to things?
Tier 8, we have a well-performing one from Pokemon Emerald.
that doesn't
Things
seem
are
fair.
seemingly normal with Grusha, the final gym leader from Scarlet and Violet.
That
next.
Red just
also fitting
wins.
nicely is Hapu, Sun and Moon's final grand trial. This trend sadly won't continue, however, as
Like,
next is Emerald's
right?
second Elite Four member, Phoebe. Fear not, Phoebe, for even more embarrassing than your performance is our 71st spot going to Karen, the lowest ranking 4th E4 member. Fear
poor
not,
Karen.
Karen, for even more embarrassing than your performance is our 70th spot going to Crystal's champion, Lance. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Lance is our lowest ranking champion in the series. Not only that, but
that's
he
rough
even
for
did worse
Lance.
than his Elite Four team from the previous games. Now from here, we've got Tulip
That's
from Scarlet and
embarrassing.
Violet, followed by Black and White Elite Four members Caitlin, Marshall, and Grimsley. This was really cool to see because with the exact same leveled Pokemon, these placements show some real consistency with the AI. Now next, Bruno's Red-Blue team will take spot 65, followed by Lorelei at 64. From here, it's Glacier from Emerald,
Dragon
followed by
Pokemon.
Notorious leader Rayhan from Sword and Shield. Now the Elite Four tier is going to be one large group rather than being split into 4 separate sections.
I mean, there's
This
some
tier is
really strong
composed
Ice and
mostly
Fairy,
of
you know.
high-performing E4 members, but it also has 2 exceptionally strong gym leaders and 1 underperforming champion. At the very bottom, we start with Marnie from the first round of Sword and
I mean,
Shield's
I feel like
Champion
didn't
Cup.
OG
Right
Lance,
after
he
that
still
is
had
Lance's
Gyarados.
E4 team of Generation 1. Then it's Hop's Rillaboom-led team from the Champion
but I guess no,
Cup.
Gyarados
At
still
58,
gets
it's Black
done
and White's
dirty by
highest
ice.
performing Elite Four member, Chantal. Crazily though, at number 57, we have Black and White 2's 8th gym leader, Marlin. Despite
That's
only
hilarious.
having 3 Pokemon averaging level 50, this dude went
Thick
against
boys.
all odds and managed to outperform 18 Elite Four members. And yes, that is his normal mode team. Now, slightly less impressive, but still
Wailmer-
worth noting,
Wailmer-
is Wolfric of
Wailord
X and Y.
and
He's
the
actually
turtle.
the highest ranking gym leaders in the
They
series.
do work.
I say it's less impressive though because his team caps at level 59. It's still a great performance, but given Marlin's lower level cap, his ranking is more impressive. Now from here at 55, we've got Hop Cinderace team, followed by Bede's Champion Cup team. B of the Champion Cup is next, followed by Hop's Inteleon team, then Aaron of Platinum's Elite Four, and topping out 50 50 is Nessa. At
I
49,
didn't realize
we have
we were
Rayhan
comparing
again,
rivals.
followed by Bertha from Platinum. Rika will be the first Elite Four member from Scarlet and Violet to appear, followed by Platinum's third Elite Four member, Flint. 45 is En's Reshiram team, followed immediately after by Zekrom. Lucian of Platinum is next, followed by Hala's E4 team, and then it's Drake of Emerald. And I think we should note that Drake did massively better than the rest of Emerald's E4. With 3 Pokemon 4 times weak to ice, he's easy
I don't
to beat
remember
as
the
a
turtle's
player,
called.
but because many teams don't have ice to stop him, his heavy hitters were often left unchecked. At 40, we have Alistair, who is the highest performing Champion Cup team from Sword and Shield. 39 is Acerola, and 37 is Olivia, who is the highest ranking member before the Champion tier. But backtracking to 38, we have the series' second lowest ranking champion, and that is Trace from Let's Go. So I'm willing to let Lance's horrible champion performance off the hook, since his team level average is only 47. Trace, on the other hand, deserves no sympathy. This guy has a team of 6 Pokemon averaging 56,
see you later,
and he
Noah.
doesn't even have the time to give his Pokemon 4 moves. I hate Trace. Trace is an embarrassment. I am mad he even gets associated with the likes of Blue, and in my eyes, I give him title of worst champion. Now moving into the champion tier, Ghetsis marks the end of Black and White's main game, so he acts more as the game's champion. And despite him only capping at 54, I'm glad to see him just make it into this tier. Drasna, on the other hand, from X and Y is awful. Drasna caps 11 levels higher than Ghetsis and only manages to rank 1 spot higher.
I've never
now, Wallace's Emerald Champion
before,
team is
so
up
it's never
next,
played
and
the game,
very
so I've never made it
interestingly,
that far in
this was the
Nuzlocke.
only instance where a trainer had a perfect tie. Wallace went 50 wins to 50 losses against Sun and Moon's Kahili. Then Wickstrom of X and Y also performed given his level 65 cap. Now our next spot is champion Steven Stone of Ruby and Sapphire, and I for one am very happy to see him beat Wallace. I'm a Steven supremacist, so I'm glad that we can now finally back up the claim that he's a better champion than Wallace. Really neat though, Mullane of Ultra Sun and Moon is the only other trainer to have a Metagross, and he actually ranks right after Steven. Now at 29, we have our first appearance of Blue with his Venusaur team. Champion Iris is next, followed by fan favorites Elite Four Larry.
You never
Malva
realized
of
that
X and Y
Steven Stone's
places at
name was
26, Blue's
Steven,
Blastoid-led team is
Stone.
25, Scarlet and Violet's Hassel ranks 24, and Blue's Charizard team will edge out the other two to take
Nova, come
3.
on.
This will not be the only time that the Firestarter team
How?
does this. At 22, we have X and Y's highest ranked E4 member, Cybolt. And despite my absolute hatred for her, Geeta then ranks pretty modestly at 21. Fireheart's final team actually beats her out though at spot 20. But what makes me even more happy is
you meet his dad.
Paldea's third Elite Four member, and Geeta's underling actually outperformed her, taking the 19th spot.
Ooh.
This was the only instance in the entire
Ubajara is
tournament
a
where
pretty
a
goddamn good
champion
Pokemon,
was
though.
beat by their own Elite Four member. That goes to show just how bad Geeta is.
I mean, it's fair.
And more
If you don't really
importantly,
think about it
it
too much,
scientifically proves that
then,
she is
like-
undeserving of champion. Fucking hate Geeta. All my homies hate Geeta. Now, next up is Platinum
Everyone hates Geeta because she's a horse girl.
Cynthia's champion.
Tell me I'm wrong.
While this isn't the last Cynthia team we'll look at, there were only 2 champions that bested her, and both had pretty significant level gaps on her. Penny of Scarlet and Violet was next, and then Peony of Sword and Shield ranked at 15.
Peony.
But we see champion
Peony?
Leon's Rillaboom team ranked 16, his Inteleon team at 14, and his
I read a fun fact thing about Geeta, and supposedly her team, they were trying to go with like a I should try to see if I can find it, but they were trying to go with like a symbolic team. And it was like her outfit is to look equestrian because like the game introduced like the legendary ride Pokemon. And then it was like Gilmora was to represent Area Zero. It was like every Pokemon represented a part of Paldea that we should have adventured through during our journey. Which, like, conceptually on paper sounds really cool, but in actuality makes for a horrible champion fight.
his Cinderace team at 12. Leon is higher level than Cynthia and is known for being a very strong champion, so this kind of checks out. And the only other champion that ranked above Cynthia was actually Diantha, which is just not fair. Diantha ranks high because she's the highest level champion. It's not because her team is particularly built, because we even see Leon's Cinderace team rank higher than it, as actually the highest ranking champion. And that actually means we only have the post-game boss tier to cover.
Okay,
Before we reach the strongest of the strong, I wanted to first examine the fascinating performances of the regions as wholes. As you probably expected, given Johto's low level, it was the worst performing region by a landslide. Even when considering levels, their horrible team composition had them ranking consistently worse than trainers of a similar level.
Of course, the first gen is going to have the worst
Johto
gen.
is
the least
garbage.
flushed out.
Of 152 trainers, Johto's average placement was 100. And the only trainer to perform above his weight class was Red. Now, Red isn't even technically from Johto, so if you take out his massive contribution, the average Johto trainer ranking goes down to spot 107. Now, the second lowest ranking region was Kanto, with an average placement of 87.
Red really put Johto on his
limited
back.
move pools and lack of a final post-game boss, this is a modest ranking for the first region in the series. And then the third worst was surprisingly Unova. Despite having well-constructed teams, this region just suffered from a fairly low average level. We even accounted for the
Everyone talks about how Ash
Ash
needed to retire, but in reality, we needed to let Red retire because his back was
trainer
broken
placement was
3 different ways.
Now, next up was Gen 3 Poet, followed by Gen
for
4 Sinnoh, and then Gen 6
10
Kalos.
years.
What's really funny to note about Gen 6 is they actually had the highest average level trainer. And with
I
that,
still think
if you
Red
were
is
to
still like
factor in
that.
the
Like
levels,
I still
Kalos
think
would
Red
actually
is one
be
of
the
everyone's
second
favorite
worst performing
protagonists.
region. Now, with a ton of late
And he
game major
doesn't
trainers
speak.
like Arven and
He-
Penny,
he's
Gen
not
9's
customizable.
Paldea
He's
understandably
just red.
ranked well, taking the number 3 spot. Now, technically, under our ranking, it was the Alola region that ranked as the highest average placement, but this isn't the full picture. Alola doesn't have 8 gyms and instead only has 4 grand trials. And this combined with a strong Elite 4 actually skews the region too high. It's not that Alola has the strongest trainers, it's just that they have the least weak. And once you factor that, they actually don't take number 1. No, see, there's one region
just because
that
you don't
is
have
even
the lead-
better. Home to both Hop, Leon, and the series' longest reigning champion, it is no wonder that the strongest region is Gen 8's Galar. Now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, it's time we move on to the final tier of our list.
I don't completely understand his rating system.
Game bosses.
I don't know if
At
I just,
number
like, missed
11, we have
something or
Nemona's
what.
final Meowscarada team from Scarlet and Violet. At number 10, we have Alder, who, despite being the champion of Black and White, serves as the game's post-game boss to the Elite Four rematch. Next, placing at number 9 is both Nemona's Quackavelle team and her Skeledirge team. Despite
Nemona is
Skeledirge
just
slightly
kinda
beating
cracked.
it out
She's
since
the
they ranked
she's
next
the
to each other,
psycho
we decided
girlfriend
to
and all
just
she wants
lump
to
them
do is
together.
Pokemon
And
battle.
similarly, at number 8, we have Kukui's Decidueye team, ever slightly bested by his Incineroar team. Yeah, plot twist, Professor Kukui is actually the series' strongest champion. At number 7, we have a stellar performance from Hoenn's own Steven Stone. And then at number 6, it's Kukui's best performing team with the
Nemona is my
starter.
spirit
At
animal.
number 5, we have Hop's post-game fight, where he has a Zamazenta, and this is the final repeating trainer. The repeats were important but kind of annoying, and
Yeah,
so
but you
to
know
give
what's
you
funny?
a
Even
true
with the
ranking
power
of just
creep,
the
no
pure
one sleeps.
top
Red
10
sleeps
trainers with
all
no
of these
repeats,
people.
we're gonna
That's
backtrack
what I'm
and just
realizing
give you the
right
straight
now.
top 10 list, okay? So
This is
ladies
about
and
to
gentlemen,
be
without further
Red
ado,
just
finally
sweat-
I give
Red
you the
just kills everyone.
scientifically ranked top 10 trainers in the Pokemon series. Number 10, Diantha, champion of Kalos. Number 9, Leon, champion of Galar. Number 8, Alder, champion of Unova. Number 7, Nemona, rival of Paldea. Number 6, Professor Kukui, champion of Alola. Number 5, Steven Stone, former champion and collector of rare rocks. Number 4, Pokemon trainer Red.
All right, bullshit.
Number
Who's
3,
better than Red?
Hop, rival
is better
of Galar.
than Red.
Number 2, Cynthia, champion of Sinnoh. And finally, number 1 is Dojo Master and former champion of Galar, Mustard. So as a fanboy, I must admit I'm very happy to see Steven's post-game fight make the
They
top
do
5.
have better
I'm
team
disappointed
comps.
with Red, and he could have been number 3, but in this tier of absolute titans, Red's non-factor Pikachu basically puts him fighting with 5 Pokemon. Hop was able to make huge ground against Red, with his 6th member being a Zacian. Now, as for Cynthia, it turns out that despite having the biggest reputation and 3 levels over him, Mustard of the Galar region is the strongest trainer. And honestly, it feels really fitting that the champion who reigned the longest would be the strongest in the series. It's mentioned that Mustard's closest partner Pokemon died many years ago.
So I always kind of forget that Mustard was a
champion
and is
strongest.
like
anyway,
badass.
Thanks so much for watching. If you want to enter the Scarlet and
kinda
Violet
forget
giveaway,
about
just
that,
comment what the
how
most
good
surprising
Mustard
placement
is.
was, and please don't forget to subscribe.
But yeah, make sure you guys go check them out. What are the Mustard was super cool. Oh, I can't do the AI thing. And I mean it's interesting. Interesting video. I still don't fully understand why he didn't scale everything to like being like an equivalent level. But you know, it's okay because we don't need to.